build these programs. So there's government functions, workforce innovation boards. I'm on one in Champaign, but that are supposed to do that, and we need to double down and create that. So jobs, education, training, huge part of it. But there's more than that, right? We need infrastructure for the families. We need early childhood education. And in this district, believe it or not, it is slim and it's expensive. It's crazy to me that there's kids that don't go to preschool because their families can't afford it.
Right.
That is, we are failing young people in that regard. We need to have accessible education for all children, and that would be a priority for me to make sure that the education is out there for people that want to learn at a re-entering the workforce, but it's also there for the young people. So that we talk about controlling costs a lot, things like prescription drugs, health insurance, property taxes. We could help control those costs at the state level, and I would prioritize that as well. So
Okay. Well, you heard it there, guys. Just part of the plan, part of what Jarrett plans to do to help this community, uplift this community, and bring more of what we need. Because we definitely get a lot of things, but he's talking about bringing more of what we need, and we're backing that at Block 1000. We're behind that, but that's a different story. Okay, so plans for job creation is key to your campaign. Um, I want to talk a little bit about go in depth with that a little bit. So training programs, you feel those are important?
absolutely. So I went through an apprenticeship, and the basics of an apprenticeship is over a period of time you're working alongside an expert. So you're a new learner, an expert learner. You put them together. The expert in whatever field it is teaching the new person their trade, craft, skill, what it is.
Right.
So you're all good. So expanding on those programs, whether it's we think of the trades and things like that, but you can do the occupational vocational training with all kinds of different occupations, whether it's truck driving, forklift driving, teaching, or a lot of different occupations. So I think we can help with that in those training programs, and that's going to cut costs for the people that are in them. You're not graduating with all this student debt, things like that. You're getting into the workforce kind of the old-fashioned way, and
Right.
and I think that's a great way to learn. But one of the things we've started to implement through the East Central Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council, which I'm a part of, is a pre-apprenticeship, a place where people can come and they basically try out a little bit of each of the different trades, right? So they get to go work with the plumbers for a couple of days, and work with the electricians a couple of days, and the drywall finishers and the laborers, and they get a little piece of all that. And these are a lot of the people in the pre-apprenticeship are people that haven't had access to what the trades are in the past. We're trying to reach out to a much broader, more diverse group of people to get them brought into good construction jobs.
Absolutely.
And so then when we get it kind of narrowed down to what their particular fields are for each person, then we help them one by one go apply with the iron workers or whatever they are feeling the best about, and what they want to expand on. So it's more of a hands-on approach, but I think it's worked out really good to help people get into the workforce again and do the jobs and training. And man, the state could expand on that. It's working. These are programs that work. And we just, but to do that, we're going to have to finance them and things like that. And the state, you win though, because it helps again with economic development. It helps grow, the economy in the area, and these programs are working. So we should double down.
Hmm. I love the idea. I personally, had my shortcomings and downfalls as a youngster, and I was lucky enough in the city of Chicago to be a part of something which is I don't think they're doing it anymore, but I was a part of something called Center Factory,
Okay.
and it was actually a building where it had a factory, a small like factory like area, and then around that area there were classrooms. So you would come here for a full day. Half of the day you would be in the classrooms learning. Okay. And it had nothing to do with what's in the factory. You were learning, you were getting a real education. And then the other half of the day, you switch with the other kids and you come out and you're doing work right there. And the work would be things that different factories would sublet, little jobs that they could sublet to this company. And that changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, that changed my life. That set me on a whole nother path from what it looked like I was on. And I never forgot that place. So much so that just talking with you and talking about job training, I went and looked, you know, to see what that place. I wanted to thank the staff, and it's not there anymore. It's something that they discontinued. But just playing into your, you know, what you're speaking of reminds me of something like that, and that really changed my life. So I'm definitely we definitely need that.
Yeah, I think what's important too. So, focusing in on to a lot of these training programs, there's an aptitude test, right? Math, reading comprehension, things like that. So, those tests shouldn't prevent people from getting into the workforce. We should help them. So what we do is, okay, you want to go this particular direction. Here's the requirements for it. Let's sit down and get a little extra help to make sure when you take those tests that you're going to get through them. We don't want to prohibit people from getting in the workforce. We want to help them, you know.
Right.
And there's been too much emphasis in the past of, oh, didn't pass the test, sorry, can't get into whatever, you know, even if it is community college, things like that. So I believe in figuring out what's important and helping people get in there.
I like it, man. I like it, man. And you know, if you're listening or reviewing at home, you know, go ahead and comment. Let me know how you guys feel about that. If you know how important is job training to you in your community. It changed my life, set me on a different path. Let me know that hey, um, if you don't have a skill, you can pick one up. You know, if you feel like you don't have a skill. So I'm all for the job training. Um, moving on. Um, so I know we spoke a little about equality.
Mm-hmm.
And you feeling like every community, every neighborhood should have equal access to job training, community resources. Let's speak on that. Let's speak on equal opportunity and how you feel about less fortunate communities, how you feel about the Black communities. Um, what's your standpoint on that? Are you do you think that there are certain neighborhoods and communities that need special attention, and do you plan to take that path?
Absolutely. So you can look at the economic data, you can look at a lot of different data points, but 100% there's different areas and communities that need help. And you know, again, going back to the job creation, job training, but it's more than just that, right? It's the infrastructure, it's affordable housing. In this area, in this district, affordable housing is a problem for a lot of people. So we need to double down on the areas that need the most help and bring those resources. And I think what's really important is um, I would have the access in the legislator to bring those resources here to help with those communities. I've got a very good relationship with Representative Carol Ammons in Champaign, which is the other part of the Senate district here. And she is a fighter and very good at helping allocate resources. So we've had discussions already about parts of the district, specifically in the Danville, Vermilion County, and in the Rantoul area, on where we could bring resources and how we could allocate them to best help the community. But I think the other thing we need to do is sit down with community partners to talk about how they feel like the resources should be used, right? It's not just what my decision would be or whatever if I were to be elected. It's let's sit down with the people in the community to figure out the best way to use these resources and you know, I think that's important to make sure that they're available, but we use them in the best possible way for what the community needs. You know, so having access to, again, the jobs, affordable housing, the childcare, make sure, you know, these food deserts we hear about, but they're real, right? Making sure that that the healthcare deserts, you know, that people have access to healthcare, affordable healthcare, that's there because you know, that we need to have a safe environment for our families to live, and then yeah, the access that we need.
So obviously you feel change is needed. You feel you can be demand to do that. Um, what is your standpoint on how do you feel about the resources being distributed? Do you feel like there's a lack of resources, or do you feel like there's a lack of people working in unison to get things done?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you just look historically at Danville, we've lost to huge employers. GM's gone, now Quaker's gone, and time again, if you just look at the census data, the population continues to decline, 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 and they're not really changing anything. Nothing's really being done different. And so I believe it's time that we make some changes, and it's going to Springfield. It's sitting down with the leadership in Springfield and laying out the case and saying, this is what we need. This is, to start changing the direction that we're going. Again, Representative Ammons, I talked to her about one of the things she was wanting to do is run a bill to demolish some of the old structures in underserved areas so that we could build new structures. I talked to the mayor in Rantoul, or not the mayor, but the city administrator about the same type of thing, right? So the infrastructure is there. We've got great infrastructure, but it doesn't really, a developer coming in is going to need some money to get rid of the old buildings or facilities that are there so we
Right.
can build new.
Right.
So that's a place where the state can help. But there's a ton of different areas, and we just need to make a good case to get those resources brought here, because the resources are there. They're just going to other places, and we need them to come here. And that's where a strong representative would be able to help with that.
So, what would you say? And you don't have to answer this, but what would you say is the number one or the biggest change Danville needs?
Well,
And then we could ask that same question about Vermilion County.
yeah. It's easy to say leadership,
Hmm.
but
Good answer.
I think
Good answer.
what leadership could bring, in a state representative fashion, would be the resources to work to bring new employers here. We need new employers coming to Vermilion County, and again, not jobs, right? Not the smaller things. We need in large employers coming to this area, like we've seen lead, that are employing hundreds of employers, and they're out there.
It's kind of what the area is conditioned to.
Yeah, and they're out there. So you've seen some emerging employers in the technology field.
Mhm.
There's data centers going up all over the state.
Mhm.
There's things like that. The governor's just made a renewed investment in the giga technology. I can't even go into exactly what all that is, but anyway,
Well,
that technology is coming to Illinois. Why not come here? We've got great infrastructure for it. Let's build it here.
for those that don't know, listeners that don't know, Danville is a industry town, big freight town. A lot of big things started here, um, and Quaker was one of the biggest employees for the last, I don't know, 40 something years. Don't quote me on that, but they were one of the biggest employees in the area for a while, and they closed up, which left, I believe, over 500 people without employment. People that worked there for years, people that depended on this place, people that were raising and had families, and it left a lot of people devastated. It left a lot of empty spaces for people. So that kind of sets the stage for what Jared's speaking about, just like getting more big names here. It's a great place for it. It's conditioned for it once again.
Yeah, I keep talking about the infrastructure, but man, you're a couple hours from Indy, St. Louis, Chicago. It just geographically, it's located in a great place. And again, you've got resources like water that some places in the country you don't have. You've got a good sustainable power source. You've got sewer. You got everything you need to build these factories or industry, manufacturing, industrial. Whether it's a data center, any of that, you've got a perfect area. So we need to market that and try and get some of those employers here. It sounds crazy, but one of the things that you're starting to see some of the bigger employers look at is the climate change, right? You don't want to build something down in the Florida area right now because there's just a lot of weather related events that are happening down there that maybe
Pray
weren't
for the people
happening.
in Florida. God bless you.
Yeah, those things weren't as prevalent maybe 10 years ago than they are now.
Right.
But where we're located, you just don't see these catastrophes like you see other places in the country, uh, whether it be a wildfire or something like that. So again, that sounds a little bit crazy, but I think it's an underrated deal that we have a very good climate. It's just a perfect place to locate you know employers.
100%. Um, so stage set for that. Off kind of off kilter question. How do you feel about agriculture? Are you into agriculture? Are you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, we farm. So I grew up. My dad farmed. He actually owned a feed mill in Ogden, Illinois, kind of
Okay.
right off the interstate there. So I grew up working in that feed mill, bagging feed every day
Okay.
for animals. But yeah, we grew up with livestock, and I still farm with my dad, brother, uncle. Some not as much, especially this year on the campaign trail. They're bailing me out, but we raise livestock at home. My wife's
That's
actually
awesome.
a veterinarian.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, this
My
morning.
dog needs to look at that. I'm
Yeah.
just joking.
Yeah, so does ours. A painter's house always needs painting.
I heard that.
No.
I heard that.
But every morning, me and my little guy, our 4-year-old, went down and watered everything and checked everything.
So you have how many kids?
Two. I got
Two kids?
4-year-old and a 7-year-old.
4-year-old and a 7-year-old. How's that going? How's that like for you?
Whoa. Yeah. It's going good,
Okay.
but I don't really know the metric on parenting. I assume it's going good, but it's a
Understandable.
full-time job, man.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's something it's a contract that you just you sign with your heart.
Yeah.
And it's for life.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, so I totally get it. How do you feel about agricultural education?
Yeah.
How do you feel about facilities to educate people specifically?
So one of the things that I think would be really cool, and again in the Champaign area, they're working. I got a friend; she runs a non-for-profit, but doing more urban type agriculture, where having more urban parks and things like that, where we can grow, veggies and things like that, and let kids really get involved in it, and because the cool part about agriculture is you can eat what you grow. Like you reap the product of it,
Yes.
And it's awesome being able to do that. So making those spaces more available, for the community and people and kids, I think would be huge. So I would like to make a renewed, a bigger investment in that in the district as well. So and teaching agriculture a little bit and showing that agriculture is changing. It's not the same as it was in the past, and we can do more to put in more gardens and things like that on our own, even if they're community gardens. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's great. I actually was speaking with, Danville they're big on agriculture. The area, is you can be, by the big buildings one second and, by a farm the next. So I love it. It's very different from where I grew up, but I grew up learning agriculture from my parents a little bit, growing in the backyard. We ate our own veggies out of the backyard. Urban. My parents right now, my mom is a cook at an urban garden in the middle of Chicago.
That's awesome.
Around 79th Street. That they literally bought a property, turned it into a farm, an urban farm, and then they educate kids and things like that. And I've seen some programs here. My kids were part of programs that I thought were very educational, enlightening, things that they could take with them forever. Survival, you know what I mean? So yeah, just wanted to, knowing your farm background, I just wondered how you felt about like kind of spreading that education and passing that down. So that's great. It was passed down to you, so you feel you want to pass that down more through your leadership.
Oh yeah,
that's what's up.
Man, it's part of like the core philosophy is investing in people, man. we need to invest in the people, invest in the kids, and that investment will pay off. So, you know, just teaching people how to do more of the agriculture that's invested in the people.
Absolutely. Any championship Angus bulls over there or anything?
We showed pigs growing up, man.
Pigs?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we showed Champaign, Vermilion, Georgetown fairs, a couple other fairs, but yeah, we grew up raising pigs.
Raising
So,
pigs.
and
Awesome.
as soon as me and my little brother moved off the farm, my dad got rid of the pigs. He said,
So you ain't
the boys are gone. Get rid of them.
Pigs are gone. You ever ate bacon from the store?
Oh yeah. But no, growing up, it was out of the deep freeze.
Deep freeze.
And people would ask, like, how do you do that? You raise these things their whole life, and I'm like, that's just the way it is on the farm. And when you go walk down to the chicken coop and get some eggs and come up and get the bacon out of there, and you know that you grew all that, there's a sense of pride in there, you know. But yeah,
and I bet none beats it, right?
No,
you can't beat store-bought. I'm sure cannot beat homemade bacon.
So
you know how to cure it and everything. Like you know how to.
No, we used to just take them to the meat locker.
Okay.
And then you get it back and put it in the freezer.
Nice. My favorite's deer jerky. I'm always waiting on that to come.
I wish I had known that. I could have brought you some.
Oh man, whenever you get a chance, just drop them in the pocket. I'm a deer jerky. I love deer jerky, especially with the cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm always waiting for people to get that back.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm waiting on it. All right, I'm waiting on it too.
Well, I used to do more hunting when I was younger, but you know, with a campaign especially and work in life, it's just I haven't had the chance. But I've got a ton of friends that still hunt a bunch.
Well, that leads to a good question. How do you feel about hunting education? Or more. You know, how do you feel about that? I feel like it's something that's very personal. It's always been a very personal thing. It's always been a very traditional thing. But I always wondered if it went a little bit more commercial. It's not like there's a hunting school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like grandpa got to take you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pops, got to take you.
That's right.
There's not a hunting school. But how do you feel about the importance of knowing how to hunt?
Well, man, I think it should be available, and that's interesting. I haven't really thought too much about it, but you're exactly right.
We need a hunting school.
So man. I went to the hunter's education course, which you had to have, to get a FOID card or to buy any ammunition or anything. And I'm trying to. I went with my stepdad and my brother.
Is that just the basics? They give you the basics?
Yeah. Okay. A lot of gun safety and hunting safety, right?
Right.
You know, where not to be, where to be when there's other people around that are hunting. And then my stepdad would actually, when we would go pheasant hunt or whatever, when I was a kid, I would carry a gun, but didn't have any ammunition in it, didn't have any shells, just to make sure that I learned the proper way to handle it and things like that. So we were very, serious about that growing up and people, but it was my dad.
How old were you when they started taking you out?
I'm going to guess around 10 or 11.
10 or 11.
But to your point that it is a very kind of personal thing. And it goes back to education. We should have that education and offer that to people if they want to. And I know there's a ton of passionate hunters. I've got a lot of friends and family that are passionate hunters that would probably love to spend time with people.
I'm 40 years deep.
Yeah.
Never been hunting.
Really?
Always dreamed about it.
Yeah.
But I always understood the personal part of it. I always understood it's not, someone would have to really dedicate that time to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Literally treat me like their son or nephew or brother, because it's not a thing where they start you young, to understand safety, to understand. So just a curious question. And I always ask guys that hunt that because I'm like, how do you feel about that? Like, it being more of a broad thing because it's survival, man. Like, hey, if crap hits the fan, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're going to have hunters and hungry. It's going to be two groups of people.
Yeah.
Hunters and hungry. Which H are you going to be? So I always think about that. And I always salute people that hunt. And, that you get flack and there's crazy hunters out there that give hunters a bad name. They go through crazy crap. But I always salute hunters because I'm like, yo, and I always change people's perspective when I tell them this. I'm like, yo, bro, if it hits the fan, I'm hanging with the hunters. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna be sitting here with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to the woods.
Yeah.
I'll probably survive better in the woods than I would in the city if it hit the fan. I'm going with the hunters. You know, they're gonna eat. It ain't even gonna be change. You know what I mean? It's just like time to eat. So yeah, man.
That's awesome.
That's my standpoint on hunting, and I know all my close friends. If you're listening, you know we always talk about that, and I always joke, you know, that I'm gonna go hunting, that I'm gonna teach myself. One day they're gonna see me in full gear, so maybe it'll happen. But thanks for sharing your opinion on that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's get into the spiky stuff.
Okay.
We'll say spiky. Pro-choice.
Yeah.
Birth control. Danville obviously went through a lot with trying to open a facility, got a lot of backlash, got people vandalizing. And you know, you always have these entities that want to just kind of shake things up and cause static when there's really none when it comes to this issue. Why is this such a sensitive issue? Why is this such a controversial issue? Why is it such a aggressive issue? It's an aggressive standpoint, I believe, when you say like, you know, when you're pro abortion or you're anti-abortion. It's a very strong. There's no in between.
Yeah.
So what you know? Speak on that. How do you feel about pro-choice? Why is it such a sensitive issue in your opinion?
Oh, so just to start out, I'm a pro-choice candidate, right? But let me explain that a little bit. I think it's become so passionate for people because it's been politicized. You're either here or you're here, and then you have a lot of different religious views that play in there, and people are passionate about religion. But for me, it's one of those things where I've always seen abortion and some of those reproductive rights as those are female health issues, right? That's a woman's reproductive health deal. And me being a male and working, you know, to get into a political job, that should not be my role working into female healthcare decisions. So I believe that's between a woman and her doctor to do what they need to do and make those decisions, but it's not my uh, place to be making decisions for other people. So I mean, it's the reproductive freedom to do their own thing is important to me. That we don't, you know, restrict any of those freedoms for a female and her doctor. And it's about you heard about the in vitro things. You know, that's a personal family, you know, struggle we see sometimes. And I sit on a large health insurance board. It's a multi-employer health insurance plan. It's all nationwide. There's about 30,000 people in it, and we actually meet next week. But one of the things we're meeting and we're going to talk about is reproductive. Some of the struggles that people are going through now. It's harder and harder for people to have children in today's day and age for a variety of reasons. Some are waiting longer, you know, and some other health issues. But how can we help people start families when they want to? So that's all part of the conversation as well. But it's all, you know, it's all part of healthcare.
So in your opinion, in a nutshell, other than the obvious, or maybe it is the obvious, why do you think people who aren't pro-choice, why do you think they're so against women having a choice? Now, of course, we have. Okay, so I'll rephrase that question. Do you think it's more religious based, or do you think it's more something else based?
Well,
What's your opinion on why there people are not against ch- pro-choice?
yeah, so I think politics has a lot to do with it. And nowadays, people are as ingrained as they've ever been in I'm either here or I'm here. And that's just not me as a candidate. I believe we need to look at all sides of an issue, whether it be the choice issue or something else completely different. But let's look at all these issues from all sides and make a decision on what's best for the people,
Right.
what's best for the individuals, and not just this is what my group's doing and that's what that group's doing, because you lose a lot of perspective when you're doing that. But I think it just politics today has a lot to do with it, and that this the stance that pro-choice is bad. That has a whole group of people that haven't really just sat down and learned about what it is and talked about what it is. It's just nope, we're not that.
Yeah, because it seems pretty clean cut, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like you can ask a 8-year-old kid, you know,
Yeah.
uh, what we should do with this issue, and I think an 8-year-old kid could figure out like, I think that's her choice. I think an 8-year-old can figure that out. But I'm always curious, and I always wonder what fuels aggressive, the aggressive people that are aggressively anti-pro-choice. I always wonder what fuels them. You know, the only logical and sound, I think, reason behind anyone being against it would probably be religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but if we look at the temperature of everything today, and if we look at the choices, and if we look at what we have access to, and if we look at parental guidance, and if we look at what could play on TV and radio as opposed to when you and I were young, um, you know, religion isn't playing a part in much of anything. So I just don't like when they pick and choose when to apply it. And I'm
Yeah.
very spiritual,
Yeah.
Yeah. Very spiritual. So, it's tough when you place it against that. But again, if you believe in God, He put everything here.
Yeah.
So if that's a choice in life, you know what I mean? Like it's a choice, and they came from the same place every other choice in life comes from. You know what I mean? So that's all. I don't know. It's just a baffling, but
Yeah, one of the things. So when I'm out in the community talking to people and it comes up, I like to talk about maybe we disagree on that issue, but we could probably agree on uh, early childhood education and affordable, accessible, having a place for young people to go. So whether or not a female, makes a choice and has a child, let's make sure we protect that child its entire life, and then we have services and everything that are available. And again, I feel like that's where the state could do a little bit better job, and we could, if I had the ability to get in, I would be a champion of trying to bring resources to early childhood education and childcare.
absolutely. And there are some, I'm sure you found these little gems, little diamonds in the dirt around Danville, around Vermilion County, people who are taking their own, you know, taking it upon themselves to, build facilities, try to bring resources to the youth. I'm sure you're running into a lot of these people who you're just putting on your list so you can hit the ground running. Um, um, how do you feel about amplifying some of these? What or can you speak on some of your plans to amplify? And I know it's just really like kind of a financial thing, but like to amplify the successful hubs. And to give you an example of what I mean, my kids, they grew up going to the library a lot. Okay. The library in Danville is very exciting. Okay. They've always got things going on. They've always got activities. They've got it broken into age groups. I have a 19-year-old who still goes to the library to hang out. Okay. He still goes to the library and has a good time because if you're bored of one thing they've got, he goes and he makes t-shirts. Now that's what he's excited about. Hey, they let me make t-shirts. He's 19. Okay. Loves the library. It's one of his hangouts. Okay. To me, that is beautiful. It's amazing when my kids say, hey, we're going to the library. In today's age, with the temperature of things, with everything out, with the influence, with the distractions, it's like beautiful music every time I hear it. But I also, every time I hear it, I pray that things, hubs like this can be amplified because not every child in the city is going to travel across the city to come to that library. You know, Not every family has access to that library in the wintertime when they don't want to, walk it, or they don't have a car, or money for public transit, what have you, whatever the reason may be. Can you speak on amplifying or growing or multiplying hubs like this? Because I feel it's important, and I feel like we need to have resources that when we notice these things, we lift them up.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like lift them up, because this is the beginning of change. It always is. Every time you see it, that's one little clink. That's one little chink in the armor of violence, one little chink in the armor of, you know, everything that's going on that's negative. So, yeah, I feel like with the leadership that I've been seeing and working with and watching, I feel like you spoke great answer earlier when you said leadership, because I feel that's where that's the root of it. I mean, because you have to be able to see these things. You have to seek these things out. You have to seek these things out, I believe, as a leader, and multiply them. If they could duplicate this library, you know what I mean? If they could duplicate this library 2 times, I personally could care less if we had a pool in town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I personally could care less if we had a pool in town, if they can duplicate the things that are working for the children. I lost a son to gun violence. Um, and
Sorry
you
for
know,
that.
yes, I lost a son to gun violence. He was a college kid, never been in trouble or anything like that. Very unfortunate. But even him at his age, before we lost him, he found these hubs. He was good at finding hubs in the city that worked for him, that helped him, and he would try to bring his brothers into that, or he would use the resources. He was great at finding resources in the city and using them. And what was great about that is that he shared it with his friends, and he influenced people with this because he made it cool.
Yeah.
So back to the point, speaking on amplifying, can you speak a little bit on multiplying or amplifying or growing or helping guys like Pastor McCullough and people like that are out here just kind of doing it off the strength of their own back? Do you have a plan, or how do you feel about multiplying these type of facilities?
Well, so I'm all in on the community resources, and I think you made a great point with access, because you can have an amazing library, but if people are too far away or don't have the ability to access it, it's not doing as good as it could.
Right.
So access is huge, and we need to make sure that everybody has access to it. And again, in the wintertime, you're exactly right. But that goes back to bringing the resources, getting those resources brought to Danville, and then sitting down with community leaders and saying, okay, this is what we can do. This might be the budget or the amount of resources that we have. How do we best deploy those? And working to find places where they're going to be most effective. But gyms, libraries, places, you hear about STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, math, I believe. Don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
But trying to do more with young people to engage their brains and get them learning at a young age and expose them to different things to find out what their path is. Not everybody's going to have the same path. So we need to help show them different paths and have all that access out there. But it goes back, like I keep, saying, it's the resources and going at a state level to sit down with the leaders in the state, from the elected, from the governor's office. I've had a conversation with him specifically about economic development in Danville. And I would love to see what we could do with the leadership of the state and see how we could bring those resources, and then again work with community leaders to say, what do we need the most? And maybe a pool's not the most needed thing. Maybe more education and access to education could be the best thing for the area.
Yeah, and being out here talking to the people and staying in touch and boots on the ground, I guess you could say, feet to the street.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard so many people that weren't politically inclined speak on political issues when they, other than when they feel like money is not being well spent.
Yep.
Every average citizen, any average citizen, if you sit down, if you're out here and you have conversations, the average citizen that doesn't even think about politics, talk about politics, sometimes doesn't care about politics, will speak up when they feel like a large amount of money is being spent and not spent on something that was, really helping the community, helping the city. Um, so I guess that's another thing you can speak on as far as, just the budget and what are some of your what's some of your strategies as far as like what you use the money for, and how you pick and choose, because I know there's a million and one things that you want to do. I know you probably can't even sleep at night thinking about everything that you want to do, if you're elected. Um, so
Yeah, it's a long list of things that I would love to accomplish, but the budget's going to play a key role in that. And this, I mean, the reality is the upcoming budget year is going to be one of the toughest ones they've had in a long time. But for me, you you use that the budget is really a couple top priorities. Number one is education. For me, you have to fund education because it's an
that's my
investment
next
in our
question.
future. It's an investment in the people. We need to invest in our young people. Uh,
Sorry.
but then another one is the pensions and retirement security, right? We have to. That's that all plays into the economy because if our retirees don't have money to spend at the grocery store and the retirees aren't able to take care of themselves, then it's an economic impact to everybody. So education and our pensions and there's a cool bill I've been doing a lot of researching on some bills that are out there, but another state rep was working on to basically put more money into the education and pension systems, and then as the pensions slowly over time are doing better, which they are, then that extra money would then roll into education again. And what that could actually do is by funding education more, our biggest property tax burden is on the K through 12 schools, right? So if the state puts more money in that, we can lower property taxes for people. So it was a long bill. It's kind of in its infancy, but the basics of it would be get the state's pension systems righted and then use that leftover money to help with property tax relief by funding schools. So, but education, retirement security are two uh, real important factors in the budget for
Okay, I agree. How y'all feel about that? I mean, it makes total sense to me. It's the future.
me.
And I feel like that was something that was pushed really hard 20 years ago. And I think the nation forgot how important that was. I think with all the choices, the educational choices, you can stop going to school and do this. It's great to have those choices, but we had such that tight, we walked a thin line coming up, and education was a major key because you walked in a room and people knew your parents
Yeah.
were on your butt, and they called your parents and said, "He's so polite, he's so well educated, he's so well spoken." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are the things that education brings, so it definitely shines through.
One of the things talking about the budget taxes that I think we need to, if I were to be elected, I would keep top of the mind is tax dollars. That's our money. That's our hard earned money, right? You know, as people out there working, folks, working families, these are hard earned dollars. And then when you hear about taxes and these budgets and millions and billions of dollars, those are hard earned dollars, right? So we don't need to make it light of it and say, oh, we need to remember that in the legislature and in all of government that these dollars were earned on the backs of hardworking families, and take it serious and remember that as we allocate those dollars and spend them. You know?
Yes, I agree. So we spoke on plans for education, which I was going to get into more. Small businesses. Let's speak on that. You have
Yeah.
plans to help small businesses?
Yeah, I got a small story. So I had a small business in Vermilion County at Kickapoo, the state park years ago, I was at the livery stable, so the horse riding stable. So
Okay.
for a couple of years, I ran that, and then I realized running a small business is hard, and it was going to be, I wasn't going to be able to retire doing that. But we had fun for a few years, and I learned a lot about small business. But our investment in small business is critical again to the economy and the local economy. So small businesses are extremely important, and I think what's important is helping people start them, and getting them going, and giving them education and the ability to start a small business. So there's different funding that's available to help
Hmm.
people, but there's a lot of red tape, and
Hmm.
it can be tough. So I think what's cool and something we should focus on is trying to give traditionally underrepresented people more resources to start small businesses. And the state does some of that, but we could do better. So
I, I, I am I am a small business owner.
Mhm.
Started a small business. Second start small business. First one learned a lot. This is the second one. It's going great, but um, so many resources I didn't have access to, and it's not so much. Uh, I guess it's just the awareness for business owners. You're headstrong. You're kind of starting a business. You're doing your thing, and it's hard to. You feel like you got it.
Yeah.
You want to get it. If you're a fighter like me, there's no quit in you. When it comes to financial help, you're looking within, man. You're looking within. You think, okay, maybe I can get a grant and maybe I can get a loan. That's always on the tip of your tongue, but like you don't stop. If you don't stop, you keep going every day, and every once in a while, it's like, man, I need some help. Man, I need some money. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm big on that issue. The plans to help small businesses. I have friends, a lot of friends that started good businesses and failed. Um, is your plan based on just better access to the financial help? Because I did run into a lot of red tape when I was ready to get help. I did miss a lot of uh, T's that I needed to cross,
Yep.
and I's that I needed to dot that didn't allow me to get funding, get the help I needed. So basically, is your plan kind of based around more awareness or more access to these easier access to these funds?
Yeah, I think it's more than just money, right?
Mhm.
So one of the problems I had, I was really good at the business side of it, but as far as executing the trail rides and taking care of the horses and all that stuff, but I wasn't an accountant. I didn't know.
Right.
At
Same.
the end of the day, when I sat down with an accountant and went through it, they said this doesn't cash flow. I
Right.
wasn't worried about cash flow. I was worried about just the operation side of things, and so a part of business planning is huge to make sure that you have a financial plan there that's gonna be successful in the future. And so once we sat down and looked at it and said, well, we could tweak this, or we could raise this price a little bit and shorten this time here to make it to where it uh, worked.
Right.
But just the planning and some of the financial preparations on it, more than just money, would have helped out long term probably in the business. So there's small business centers out there. There's things like that, but the access to those and trying to give them resources to help small business owners,
Not always easy.
but again, it's an investment, because when some of these small businesses succeed, it's long term stability, economic stability for the
Right.
community.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Again, me having friends, um, open businesses, seen them fail, seen a lot of people fail. So just getting a little bit more specific. In 2023,
Mhm.
76% more people, black people, started businesses than in 2022, 2021. I think we had like 110% growth in minorities starting businesses. But 82% of those businesses failed just in that year. I think it's full. No, it's something like 53% of those were due to lack of funding, lack of help. lack of, basically lack of funding, operational funds,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So, um, do you have any plans? Now, I know you've been out in the community. You've been out in my community. You've been
Mm-hmm.
out in the black community. I don't consider Danville necessarily a black community. This is like one of the most American places I've ever been. And what I mean by that is it's really black and white. You know what I mean? This is one of the most American places I've ever been. It's really black and white. Um, so I don't consider Danville necessarily. I don't think, but there are predominantly black neighborhoods. Which you've been boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You've been out here. Do you have any special plans for the black community or for black communities you've come through where you feel like, yo, this is really, if I can help this one person, he'll be able to help. Do you have any special plans for that, or do you plan to focus on the issues in black communities specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the best things that I could do is work with people in the community. So you talked about Reverend McCullough and
Mm-hmm.
Ed Butler and them,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of leaders in the Black community that I would like to work with to say it's not what Jarrett thinks you need. What do you need? And then as
That's
we
what we
get
need.
these resources available, sit down and make plans to make it happen. So I mean, there's just a ton of different things we can do, but I want to work with the community to get what the community thinks it needs, and then be honest to say, hey, these are the resources that we can become available, and see what the needs are, and then try and reach out to get more resources. But let's work with the people to get the people what they need, and not me telling them,
Absolutely.
hey, this is what you're going to get.
Right.
That shouldn't be how it works in
I
government.
like it.
You represent the people.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I've met a lot of great people. We've teamed up in the black community with a lot of, people who have come and really, really seen what we're doing, and really, really seen these small hubs that with the right help they can grow. And that's where I met you at. And this is one of the main reasons I'm behind Jarrett Clem. I met him at a forum um, that he had with my pastor, and he was really boots on the ground, seeing what he's building, seeing what he's trying to bring to the community for the kids. He's very well known for that. The Three Kings of Peace, Ed Butler, they're very well known for that. And not only that, he came into our community. He gave Block 1000 Internet Radio, which is a black-owned company, an opportunity to speak with him, for him to showcase his plans, and it helps grow our company at the same time. So, not even in office yet, and already contributing to the growth of the community. Guys, give it up for Jarrett Clem.
Thank you.
Now your campaign manager's on me. I know you got to get on the trail.
Yeah.
So, two last small, quick questions. Okay, I guess we spoke on community organized youth. There's a lot of organized youth programs. So I guess that goes into the same question. We spoke on that. Crime.
Mhm.
Last question. Now I know nobody has the blueprint for gun violence. Nobody has the blueprints for crime. I've been a victim of crime, so it's an important issue to me. Healthcare. We didn't speak on that either. But real quick, if you want to speak on crime and healthcare, take the floor, take it away. Jarrett Clem, what's your standpoint on these things?
Well, access to healthcare is huge. And we need to make sure that everybody has access to affordable, reasonable healthcare. We could do a whole show just on some of my frustrations with the healthcare industry, the insurance industry, prescription drugs. I spoke earlier about the fund that I sit on. Our prescription drug costs went up 30% the past 2 years. And that comes out of people's pockets. That's dollars and cents. And what happens if you can't afford it? Then you're making a decision between rent, food on the table, or a drug that might potentially keep you alive, or your family, a child alive. So the prescription drug and the health industry needs some fundamental changes.
So it is on your totem pole.
Oh, yeah,
definitely something you plan to attack.
Yeah, absolutely, super frustrating. And then, you're right on the crime aspect. Nobody has the blueprint to that, but one of the biggest things I think we could do is help our young people have access to facilities like we talked about earlier, whether it's a gym or a library we need safe spaces in our community to keep our young people busy, engaged, and educated. Community gardens. What a great thing we could do more of here. But just trying to keep people, young people especially, engaged and really trying to learn. Sports are an amazing thing for young people because it helps them stay busy and work for something and achieve a goal. But making sure that not every kid's an athlete. I'm an example of that.
Right. No football, no nothing.
Oh, I played football, man, but I was not a starter. My
Okay.
older brother was. So,
Okay.
but no, I played football. We started in third grade. I
Okay.
played for the Blue Devils in Champaign, and
Okay.
I found out later. I think it was maybe more of a child care thing. But again, having these the things like that available, and what about a family that can't afford to have their kids in sports? We should be able to help with that because it helps the community.
It does.
And
does.
building strong foundations in our young people is going to help crime long term, in my belief. So, it's an investment in the people, and that's what we need to do. So
we have so as you know, we both know there's great guys out here. There's great leadership out here. There's guys that are willing to do what others can't. There's guys who have the time to do what others can't for the community, starting with the youth to stop the problem before it gets bad. So would you say you have a pretty so part of what we're talking about is the lack of funding, lack of resources. So would you say you're going to have a pretty aggressive approach to getting these resources, getting the money into the communities? Would you say you have a pretty aggressive approach on that?
I have an extremely aggressive approach on that. And I mean, here's the reality. Uh, the state of Illinois in the Senate and in the House has a supermajority of Democrats. And so, as a Democrat legislator, I'm going to have access that a Republican legislator is not going to have. And I'm going to be able to have conversations and time with people. Um, Again, one of the biggest advocates for bringing resources to the Black community is Representative Carol Ammons in Champaign. She's chair of the Black Caucus in Springfield. She's huge, and again, I've talked with her about plans of what we could do together to advocate for resources for this community, and she is all in. And so, that's one of the avenues we could go down to do these, to get these resources. But just in the labor community, which is the union groups. I'm an advocate for unions, and they have a lot of resources in Springfield. So I think what we would do is go out, lay out the case of why we need these resources, show people, and get them brought into the community. So, but I do want to mention. Early voting is open now.
I was just about to say
we
that.
get there.
I was just about to say that. Well, I was about to ask you the final and hardest question of the entire interview. Maybe we'll get Jarrett back. He seems like a fun guy. We could probably have more conversations, talk about a bunch of stuff. Final and hardest question: what makes Jarrett Clem the man for the job?
Ooh, you didn't prep me on that one. No,
unprepped question, guys. You're getting the real.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you feel, honestly?
Yeah.
What made you run?
So what made me run is I'm here for the people, man. I believe in it. I believe we can build a better community by investing in the people that are in the community. So I've been engaged in politics for a while now and seen kind of what's been going on, and I think we can do better. So I believe I'm the person because I care, I'm passionate, and I have the ability to get the job done. So I'm not in it for me. I'm in it for the people and for the community, and yeah, we can knock this out together.
There you have it. I like that energy. Let's knock it out together. Sounds like a slogan to me. Let's knock this out together. Well, there you have it. Early voting is open. The election is November 5th. Jarrett Clem is running for state representative for the 104th district, which is Danville and some Champaign County, correct?
Yeah.
So if you're in the area, I'm voting for Jarrett. Go do your homework. You can go to voteclem.com, voteclem.com. There is you can check out my website if you want to find your way to his website. You've probably already seen that if you're watching this. So yeah, go check him out. Do your homework if you're in the area. Great candidate. It's who I'm supporting, and I look forward to the election November 5th. Anything? Vote for Jarrett. Anything else? Any final words?
Keep it locked on the block.
Keep it locked on the block, baby. Let's go. That has been your interview. I appreciate you, Jarrett. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to, you're always welcome back. And special shout out to Nick, putting it all together. And we're gonna get out of here, man. We're a little over an hour. I gotta let them get back to the campaign trail. Listeners, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll answer all your questions. I didn't want to be distracted. I know I answer live, but I'll get back to you all. Promise. That has been an interview with Jarrett Clem, and this is your Use Your Vote series of interviews. And we'll get you back to the music. I'll be back in a minute. Keep it locked on the block. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrett. Cool. All right.
We good?
Yes, sir.
I tell you what, man, I didn't even think about it, but next time I can get Carol to come out here. You ever met her? She's awesome.